I'm Erin Rust. I'm an outreach and admissions specialist for South Puget Sound Community College, and today we're going to talk about the community college system and applications and how to apply. So what are some of the things we're going to talk about today? Well, we're going to talk about the different kinds of colleges that exist, the Washington State Community Technical Colleges and their locations, the types of degree programs offered at the Washington State Community and Technical Colleges, and then the admissions, application, and acceptance process for those colleges, and a little bit about South Puget Sound Community College. So what are the different kinds of colleges, and how do you know what kind of colleges you're applying to? Well, something to keep in mind is the name of the college. That usually gives us a little hint as to what kind of college we're talking about. So when you are thinking about two-year colleges, or when you're hoping to find two-year colleges, the key things to look for are the term community college. This usually indicates offerings of certificates, applied science, and transfer degrees. And then just the word college. That could indicate all of the above, and some two-year colleges that use the term college and not community college also offer four-year applied science degrees. And then a lot of times they can be called technical college or institution. So if you see that, they're usually going to be a little more specific in the professional technical program areas. They might not offer as many AA transfer degrees. So that's some of the language to look for when you're thinking about attending a two-year college. And then when it comes to four-year colleges where you would get a bachelor's or higher, you can see the word college. For example, the Evergreen State College is actually a four-year college, not a two-year college. So it could be a four-year baccalaureate if you see the word college, but usually you'll see the word university used when we're talking about a four-year college where you can get a bachelor's or higher. And usually a university is more than just a single institution, so they'll have little colleges under the umbrella of a big one. So for example, the University of Washington has the College of Medicine and the College of Business under its umbrella. So a lot of times with those four-year universities, you'll need to apply not only to the university proper, but also to the college within that university, like an application for the University of Washington, and then also an application to the College of Business. So hopefully that gives you a little more information about how to know what kind of college it is based on the name of it. And then we'll talk about our Washington State Community and Technical Colleges. So these will be all of the two-year college options that are available to you within the state of Washington. So we have 34 community colleges and technical colleges in the state of Washington, which is really exciting. That's a lot. And they're all listed here. South Puget Sound is number 26 on this list. And this is a map of where you can find those community colleges. So there's a cluster you can see in that sort of zoomed in circle there of the community and technical colleges along the I-5 corridor. So that's where a lot of them are. And then you can see number 26, South Puget Sound, is just outside of that circle, right underneath Olympia off of I-5. So yeah, that's where they're all located. So they're spread all across the state. And the types of degree programs offered and how to find the right degree for you. So Washington State Community and Technical Colleges offer a wide variety of programs. Like we talked about a little earlier, there's transfer programs, there's applied science programs that'll help you get directly into the workforce, there's certificates. So a lot of people come to a two-year college to complete their first 2 years of their bachelor's degree or their four-year degree, and then they transfer to their university or four-year college. A lot of people also train to enter a job directly. That would be with an applied science degree. Those typically don't transfer as well because that's what they're designed to do, is help you get directly into the workforce. And then there's also applied bachelor's degrees that are sometimes offered from 2-year colleges. So this is like a zoomed in version of a bachelor's degree. So it's very specific for a field, like a bachelor's in nursing. You're not going to learn about a lot of other things besides nursing with a bachelor's in nursing, whereas a traditional bachelor's degree is going to have a lot of breadth with a little bit of depth in your core classes or your major. And there are a lot of options. There's those professional technical certificates. Those are like a zoomed in version of a applied science degree. They're going to get you skills for a specific job out in the workforce. There's associate of applied science degrees. Those are the degrees that are designed to help you get a job right after you graduate in a particular field. There's Associate of Arts or Associate of Science transfer degrees. These are the 2-year degrees that are designed to help you get a bachelor's or above. There's those applied bachelorette degrees. Those are the 4-year degrees that are in a specific area. There's also an Associate of Arts direct transfer degree that's really broad, and it'll help you get your 4-year degree. And then the Associate of Arts in Science, which is kind of the same idea as Associate of Arts, but you're focusing in sciences. So those are the different types of degree programs that you'll find at 2-year and technical colleges in Washington. So the application and acceptance process, let's talk a little bit about that. So the good news is it's super easy to apply to 2-year colleges in Washington State. They all have open enrollment. So that means that when you apply, you become admitted. You don't have to submit test scores. You don't have to submit transcripts to become admitted. They're just going to admit you right off the bat. And the reason for that is because they have programs designed to help you get up to college level if you start at pre-college level, and they just want to welcome as many people as they can and help them get started. Some of the 2-year colleges and technical colleges in Washington do have an application fee, but most of them are free to apply to. An important thing to remember is that even though they all use the same application, which we'll take a look at, we'll learn a little bit more about in just a minute, even though they all use the same application, they do have different enrollment processes. And applying is only the first step of their enrollment process. So sometimes it can get confusing. You might apply and then think, oh, yay, I'm done. I can register for classes. Well, for most colleges, that's not the case. There are still some other steps, and the steps are unique to each college. So what we recommend doing is going to that college's admissions website, learning about their enrollment steps, and then applying and following those enrollment steps. I mentioned all of the 2-year colleges use the same application, and you can find that same application from all of their websites. So if you want to apply to SPSCC, you can go to our admissions website and you'll get the application. If you want to apply to Centralia College, you can go to their website and get the same application. So you don't have to go to any particular spot. You can just find the college you're interested in and fill out the application, and it'll be the correct one. A lot of the college's websites have important information about enrollment. Like I said, a really great resource is sbctc.edu. You can search each of the 2-year colleges by different criteria. So you could say, I want to see all of the colleges that offer auto mechanics, or I want to look at all the colleges that offer a nursing program, or all the colleges that offer drama. And you can learn more about those colleges and find out if you want to apply to them that way. So that's a really awesome resource. You do usually need to have a high school diploma or equivalent to apply. You don't necessarily have to have earned that before you apply. For example, if you are a rising senior and you're going to be graduating in the summer, but you want to attend a 2-year college in the fall, you can apply before you graduate. They'll have a question on the application that asks you, if you haven't graduated yet, are you planning on, and when will you be graduating? So they can find that information out really easy. And then if you have questions about enrollment steps for a particular college or about the application itself, each college has an admissions department. Sometimes they're called recruitment or outreach. Sometimes they're admissions counselors or officers. Me at SPSCC, I'm an outreach and admissions specialist. So just kind of keep an ear open for that type of language. And if you're looking for help, those are the people who are ready and available to help you through the application and the enrollment process at any of the colleges you're interested in. So some things that you will need to apply. Well, a big one is your social security number. That might sneak up on folks, and they'll be sitting down and getting ready to apply and then realize they need their social security number and they might not have it memorized. So then they gotta, go back and figure out what it is. Thankfully, you can save your application and come back to it later. That's really nice, but it's nice to just be able to sit down and get it done. So knowing that you need your social security number ahead of time is helpful. And that's why I mentioned it now. If you don't have a social security number, you can definitely still apply. Don't let that stop you from applying. We'll talk about that process in a little bit. But if you do have a social security number, it's really important that you enter it into your application. We can add that information retroactively, but it gets difficult and tricky, and we want things to go as smoothly as possible for you. So if you can enter that in at the time you're filling out the application, that'd be great. Your mother's maiden name is something that you'll need to create your account. That will help you be able to save and come back to your application later if you need to. So make sure you have that handy. You'll need your legal name. If you don't go by your legal name or if it's changed, we have ways for you to indicate the name that you use currently. If that's different from your legal name, though, we will need you to use your legal name for the application. I hate to say that, but it's just something that needs to happen right now. We're working on making changes so that we don't have to do that, but the colleges that you're applying to will have a way for you to indicate a name that you would rather use if it's not your legal name. And then your address. If you live in multiple places, or if you live on a campus, like you're transferring from a four-year college, you live on campus, use the address that you receive mail at. And if it's a temporary address, please try to use one that's a permanent address, because we want to make sure that you get the important stuff coming directly to you, because that'll help your enrollment process go much more smoothly. And then your email address, and that's one that's not associated with your high school. So if you're still in high school and you're applying and you use your high school email address, that will work for a little while, but once you graduate, that address kind of goes away, and we still will need to communicate with you about enrollment and registration and all that good stuff. So use an address not associated with your high school, and use an email address that you check often, because that's going to be important later on down the road. So those are some things that you'll need to apply. And then some common errors that happen when you're filling out the application. Probably the number one that we see is auto-population of other person's information or data. So an example of this would be maybe you're using your parents' computer or a friend's computer or a computer that you've checked out from the library or from SPSCC, and you're filling it out, the application, And you may not realize that it's auto-populating somebody else's name or email address or physical address. And that's going to be tricky going down the line because, if we accidentally admit one of your parents or one of your friends, that doesn't help you a whole lot. So when you're filling out the application, make sure that you're paying attention that it's your information and that somebody else's information hasn't auto-populated into any of the fields. Listing an incorrect social security number is another one that's a common error. If your parents or you don't have social security numbers to list, using 000000 is the way to go. That field doesn't need to be populated, but if you put in the 00s, it will indicate to us that you don't have a social security number, and we can offer you some resources and some support that might be really helpful. If you do have a social security number, make sure you're putting it in and make sure you're putting it in correctly so that when you move down the line through the admissions funnel, as we like to say, to registration, that things don't get confusing later on. Not using your legal name is another common error. That can get a little confusing too if you are applying with a different name than what's on your legal information, or if you've changed names that you go by somewhere along the process. Let us know so that we can get that name change done for you. So we're calling you by the correct name. That's most important. And also so that things don't get jumbled up with your data and your information. And then entering the wrong address is another common error. So make sure you're double checking that things are entered correctly and you'll be good to go. And some things that are important to know and remember. You will create an account so that you can save your application to come back to later if you need to. So if you start your application and something happens, or your computer battery dies or something like that, you can totally come back to it later. Just make sure you're saving each page that you fill out. Any fields that have an asterisk, that's that little star symbol, those ones have to have some kind of information in them before you move on to the next page of the application. If there isn't an asterisk symbol, that means you don't have to fill out that field. And there are a couple of pages that say, if this information is voluntary, you don't have to answer any of these questions if you don't feel comfortable. And please, by all means, do that. If you don't feel comfortable filling out that information, you don't have to. But something to remember is that those questions that might be a little bit uncomfortable to answer, answering them may help us provide you with more support. So use your discretion. Make sure you're not going too far outside your comfort zone, but also know that a lot of those questions help the colleges to make sure that you're getting the support and resources that you need. And then the last one would be to reach out if you have questions. The admissions office, the recruitment folks, the outreach folks, they are there to help you with the application, to help you with the enrollment process. And we really do love helping. It might seem intimidating at times to ask somebody for help, but we've helped a lot of people with the application and a lot of people through the enrollment process, and we probably have the answer to your question. So don't be afraid to reach out for help. So now a little bit about South Puget Sound Community College. So these are the fields of study that we offer and the degrees within those fields. So we also have those transfer degrees like we talked about earlier. You'll see those as the green dots. We have applied science degrees, those are the orange dots, and the certificate programs are the red dots. And we have several academic pathways to choose from, and hopefully one of them matches your interests. And it's a really valuable option to start at a 2-year college, especially if you're planning on transferring to a 4-year college. And you can see that on our graph here. at SPSCC and many of the other two-year colleges in Washington, our tuition's going to be less than or around $5,000 for the whole year, whereas a four-year public college is going to be around $10,000 of tuition for the whole year, and a private four-year college could be up to $45,000 or more a year. So it's really a valuable option. And at South Puget Sound, 60% of students receive some form of financial aid, with the average award being almost $6,000. So chances are, if you're eligible for financial aid, you'll be receiving it, and it should be enough to cover your tuition and probably also buying books and school supplies as well. And there's lots of different funding options. I won't go into many of the details here because we could literally have a whole session just talking about financial aid. But there's FAFSA and WASFA, which are forms that you can fill out that will help you know what kind of grants or loans you may be eligible for. You can do Running Start at most of the two-year colleges, if not all of them. There's scholarships. I think just about every two-year college offers a scholarship. Most of them, actually I think all of them, have a military and veterans benefit specialist of some kind that can help you if you have education benefits that you want to apply. We have a new grant this year, the Washington State College Grant, that's available through FAFSA or WASFA. Many two-year colleges, including SPSCC, have workforce transitions funds for people who are looking to jump into a career or who are coming in from unemployment or in a worker retraining program or struggling with food scarcity or houselessness. So there's money there, and there's work study programs as well that you can do a job on or off campus, and part of that money will go to your tuition. So for more information about these that are specific to South Puget Sound, you can go to spscc.edu/pay-for-college. And then here's a couple other scholarship websites that you might find helpful. I like to throw those in there just in case. And if you have any questions, my contact information is here, as well as Tusalava Kawaya, who is my fellow outreach and admissions specialist in the outreach office at South Puget Sound. And on this page, we also have the outreach email, the email for access services. So if you have a documented physical or learning disability, they're the people you would talk to about getting accommodations for that. If you have questions about enrolling or class registration, you can go to enroll at SPSCC. If you have questions about academic planning, you can contact advising or financial aid. It would be financial aid at SPSCC. So thank you for your time. If you have questions, don't forget to reach out and ask. And I hope you all have a great rest of your day. Bye-bye.